Hello. Thanks for coming to this presentation. I know there was a similar one on coaching. My presentation is more on introducing Ultimate at schools or social groups. So in terms of the coach, you're the adult in charge is who I'm speaking about. So I'd like to say thanks first for wanting to introduce Ultimate to players. It's great to spread the sport. I've got a full pack of resources which I provide to individuals who do introductions and to which I refer to myself. I've drafted these over the past 5 years that I've done this. Here in Cape Town, when I started formally at a school, when we introduced the sport, it was put into PE. So I had a PE lesson plan plus ideas for the extramural sport time. I've since done introductions to other schools, both in underdeveloped areas, private schools, single-sex schools. I've done primary school level, so I wouldn't encourage that. I'll talk about that more later. And some social groups, other sports. I've gone into other sports groups and done Ultimate as an alternative training activity just for fun and involvement of the players. So yeah, the resource packet that I have includes Coach the Coach program, which is basically just an outline of how I run a session and examples of drills I get. I've got a one-pager of the basic lesson plan, so you can just take that to the field on the day and laminate. I did a whole document on adaptation for youth, specifically for other countries have done this, but I did one in the South African context. I'll go into that. And then I also have a document called What is Ultimate Frisbee in the South African context. This document is more for you to familiarize yourself with, as it compares Ultimate to all the traditional sports in South Africa, rugby, cricket, hockey, and outlines similarities and differences. And this one, you can share these with the kids. If you've got a whole bunch of netball girls you're coaching, you can say, well, Frisbee's a lot like netball. When you get the disc, you don't move. You have to pivot on one foot. And then you explain a difference between netball and Frisbee. In Frisbee, Ultimate Frisbee, I use the term Frisbee since Ultimate is a rather vague term and quite confusing in other languages, as in Afrikaans or EC course is speaking. In Frisbee, unlike netball, you don't have a letter on your chest. You can go anywhere you want. You can score. You can defend. You have to do everything on the field. So it's a very inclusive game. Anyways, and these documents, not only do I provide them to the coach, when I've done a session at a school or with a group, I provide this to the teacher in charge or the youth, the person in charge, as reference material so they can look at it in the future. Because although initially I was doing a lot of introductions and running pro at school, you will all realize you can't sustain that over a long time. And therefore, I go in with the goal of after one session, the school can take it on or the group can take it on at a social level. Obviously, if a school or group takes it on to make a competitive team, they would then be looking for a coach. But again, that is still on their side and for them to look to hire a coach. And obviously, I always let them know they can contact CTFDA myself. There's access to players who could do coaching roles. In addition, a sport person, coach from another district could easily take on Ultimate. We've already done that in Cape Town. Coaching a sport is very much about dynamics, team management, organization. And yes, I think one of our, Sibongele Sam, who's coaching in the international school, he's already qualified to coach hockey and basketball. Hockey and soccer. And he'd played Ultimate with a team I played on. And then he's taken on Frisbee now and he's coaching. And so it's just different techniques, pointers. Again, they're provided in lots of YouTube videos and documents I provided. But it's this coaching skills that he brings to Ultimate. And he's doing a great job there. So anyway, so that's the, and then obviously when I send the email to the schools, I also send a few YouTube links, but there's lots I can find on YouTube. So anyway, so back to introducing schools at Ultimate. Introducing schools to Ultimate Frisbee. the first step is obviously getting the school or the group. I think that's the most work you'll actually do, is trying to soliciting people and getting them to say, yes, I'd love to have you. In our busy world today, teachers get hundreds of emails a day. Schools get thousands of emails a day. So your email or your call is just one of many. If it happens to get read, that's a bonus right there. And if somebody calls you back, that's awesome. They'll often call you back and say, could you do it this Friday? With no warning at a certain time. That's fine. And hopefully you can just say yes and show up and do it. As I said, and it's a lot different once introduction goes to a sport, because then you're in the sports schedule. Ultimate is generally being done in the summer, so you fit into the schedule. You have to fit into field time, so you will be given the slot where in between hockey, netball, whatever. So often get given Fridays, but there's a lot of alternative sports being offered at schools now, so the Friday slot is even getting used up. But my point being, you're going to spend a lot of time trying to get there. If you get cold calls, people, could you come do it? That's great. I've had a few of those. And I just showed up and did a demonstration. But when I talk to people, my suggestion is that we can just come in, do a demonstration on a fun day, often end of term or end of year. Often their teachers have finished their curriculum, finished their marking, but they still got kids to supervise. So they're much more open to you showing up, and you provide the supervision there on the side, or they go off and do something and come back at the end of the lesson and go, thank you very much. Youth groups, similarly, they've made requests and you join them on their regular session on a Friday. I've gone to, I said, sporting groups, but the main thing in all this is you're providing your time and the introduction to sport. The group provides the field and the people. They gather the people, the kids, and so you just show up and meet them there. The logistics of moving people around is a whole nother ballgame, resources and time-wise, and just liability and stuff like that. You as a coach, you're providing your time to show up wherever they are. So, Now, when you prepare for that, I said you should read through some of the documents just to remind yourself what you're going to do. Have a basic plan about what you want to do. I encourage coaches to give out a coach's box, a big plastic box with a lid, because it can rain and wind. It has the cones in it. 8 is fine. Discs. If you know the number of kids and have 1 per pair, that's great, but not everybody has those resources. But like 6, some bibs, or you can ask the school to bring bibs down if it's a school group, because most of them do have bibs, like from netball and other PE activities, and a whistle. The most important thing I want to say is a whistle. Just when you are organizing a large group of youth and teens especially, there's a lot of chit chat, so you just need to blow that whistle when you need their attention. Also, they'll go out, throw the disc, and when you need to come back in, just quickly blow a whistle, bring them back in. And then when I find the most useful is when you start a scrimmage and playing a game. The whistle indicates pretty much every turnover, and I use my hands to indicate direction of play. As well, obviously, if there's a infraction or a foul of any kind, that you just need to stop play and explain. But yeah, use that whistle. I know it's not a standard thing for Ultimate Frisbee because we don't have referees, but for coaching, it is a necessity. Okay, so you've found a group, you've got your kit, you're ready to go out, you know your basic plan, and as I said, I've got a basic lesson plan. Mine's for an hour, 45 minutes. You do a quick introduction, then you're going to do skills, which is throwing and catching, and you're going to start a game, hopefully. Okay? Now, quick introduction. I truly want to emphasize quick. The kids are there to do something. They really don't want to stand around and listen. So first thing, just make sure you introduce yourself and let the kids know what they should call you. The school might have said, oh, here is Samantha Fothergill from Cape Town Ultimate, but you can say, hi everyone, you can call me Coach or Coach Sam, just so there's an easy way for them to refer to you. Obviously you're not going to know their names. If they have name tags, that's awesome. And then just give a brief overview of Ultimate, that it's a 7-side game that's actually played around the world in teams. You can reference, I said, the document of what is ultimate SA and compare it to different sports. But I think the main thing to get across is just that it is a game played. It's looking to get into the Olympics. There is a World Championships. And the main thing that there is, in South Africa, it's mainly co-ed play, but there is men's, open division, women's, juniors, masters, and the co-ed. And then the other thing you just mention is before you start, because you'll probably flip your speech around, is that you're going to be playing with a frisbee, which some people refer to as a flat ball, but also in the community we call it a disc, because you'll probably use that terminology as you're starting explaining. So you get the kids to get started, make sure they're around you, facing you, and then with the throwing, start off the basic backhand. And maybe get a teacher to come through with you, or just choose one kid and just do a backhand and explain it as you're doing it. The key things I talk about in the backhand is just to hold the disc, wrapping your fingers around with thumb on top, to turn sideways so your shoulder's at your receiver. That's comes with pivoting, but I just have them be sideways for the backhand with their shoulder, to rotate their arm from the shoulder and try to release the disc with a straight arm. And boom, take a disc, oops, then I always forget this. And the second most important thing is catching. And actually you'll have this when you do a throw and somebody drops and you say, remind yourself to use two hands with the catch, pancake, and baby shark. It's maybe not so trendy now, but back a few years ago when I was coaching, baby shark was all the rage with the meme and the song. So we just baby shark it and catch it, and they all seem to remember that. And then break them into groups. I don't suggest saying go into pairs, because inevitably there'll be one student left out. So say break into small groups, 2s, 3s, 4s, throw the disc, practice your throwing, change direction so you're going different way into the wind. The other bonus of 3s and 4s is it naturally, players will naturally pivot, because they'll catch coming in from the one side and they'll turn and throw. They might not pivot on one foot, but it's that catching from one direction, throwing in a different direction. So 2s and 3s is actually really good for a warm-up, and it requires less discs, obviously. Walk around while they're doing it, just give a few pointers. If somebody's noticing, if you see somebody catching over the head and they automatically use one hand, point out that's great. That's exactly what you should do with every hand. And obviously, if it's windy, kids are going to get discouraged, so make sure you say, Cape Town, well, especially in Cape, it's windy. That's why we're the best players in the country, along with like East London and PE. Things you're going to remind them is to keep their grip tight. That's more, if they just focus on their hand, they'll focus more on throwing and not thinking about putting all this power in their arm. If you get them to focus on their hand often, they calm down with their arm and they will have a better backhand. Again, mentioning the spin, that it comes from the wrist, not the forearm, and to make eye contact, especially with teenagers. Oh my God, they're shocking. They don't look at each other when they throw. They'd like, oh my goodness. So make sure they think, and too often, I've often had groups of teens, the grade 8 starting school, because it's the introduction to the sport, so they might pick it for their sport extramural. And the grade 8s, obviously, they've just met each other. They don't know each other. So encourage them to call out the name of the person they're throwing to, and for the person to call, Sam, I'm open, just to, so they each remember each other's name. So do that 5-10 minutes, boom, back in. Awesome. When you come back in, ask them, what did you notice made it easier to throw? What made it difficult to throw? And hopefully they'll mention the wind. And then you just reemphasize again that the wind carries the frisbee. It obviously is a big hindrance as well. Tight grip, making eye contact. Just 3 or 4 things around. Say, right, now we're going to get on to the cool throw, the forehand or the flick. And this is what I say, this is when somebody actually knows how to play frisbee, when you see somebody who can flick. And this, obviously, the grip is the most important thing, and it's really tricky to teach kids. It's really hard to watch. It's great if everybody has a disc and can do it while you're talking, but try to get them to group with their disc. But turn your back to your group when you're doing your forehand, so that you can show how you're putting the disc in. And I use, oh, look at me, don't even have a prop. I use a gun, put this in your left hand, and you make sure to check if it's left-handed. They must do everything opposite. it's good to actually teach yourself left hand sometime. You realize how hard it is to learn to throw things. Left hand, 2 fingers, oh God, there, down on the edge, tip it over, and cock it. And it's on your side. So obviously we don't cock the frisbee, but you will see with lots of beginner players, they do use 2 hands to set their flick, and there's nothing wrong with that. Simply point out that's something they can do to start to get comfortable, but that they should not do that. So it's on your side, and the forehand to make the gun, make sure the disc is flat, parallel with the ground. That's the biggest thing. Thumb on top, and try to only use your wrist, not move your arm. You will inevitably move your arm, but if the kids learn to focus on their wrist, they'll get a much better flick. And again, explain it's a forehand because the front of your hand is facing your receiver and you're square onto your receiver. Okay. Again, send them out to groups and let them throw. You'll have to go around and do a lot of people's grips. They'll be super confused. Another big thing kids do is they put in their other hand. They think the backhand is the right throw and the flick is the left-handed throw. Okay, so watch for that. Make sure you ask somebody, are you left-handed or right-handed? And that's interesting often in language. So when I work with Easy Clorza kids or Afrikaans, that's left-handed, right-handed. I don't think they're the same terminology. So just which hand do you write with? That's the handy thing. Okay, so flick, let it go. Probably a little bit shorter. Their throws won't get better in this first time they've done it. Bring them back in, and again, go through the things that are important. The grip, thumb on top, level with the ground, and less motion to get lots of things. The other big thing I explained to them is both the backhand and the forehand. It's all about the wrist and the flick, and it's that motion. You know, flicking a towel at somebody in the change room. Oh, you'll get some good laughs out of generally the rugby guys or water polo. But they also, it's like this, you know, like yo. If they can do that, they should become a frisbee player. Okay, so again, encourage them to use skills they already have. And then you say, okay, right, we're going to get a game on now in scrimmages. If you've got another teacher, just go around, give bibs out 1, 2, 3, 4. Say break up, yellow bibs here, red bibs there, and literally, I just say, like, it's a game of 7-on-7. You can't run with it, and you can't, there's no contact, and you got to score in the end zone. And I kind of leave it at that because half the people are listening, half of them don't. Lots of people can't comprehend a game through a verbal instruction, so then we just get on the field. I've already set up the cones, and I go, right, yellow people, get down there to that end zone. And generally you hopefully have 1 or 2 kids who know what the end zone is. They walk, and then you walk to the one end zone, you line them up, and you say, okay, stay here, I'm going to go talk to the other team. And then you go down. And then you start explaining it, matching up. And D won't be a big thing in first game base. I just line up from across you. I don't even worry about gender in the first game. Just whoever's across you, that's who you're marking. Everybody see who you're marking? Right. Stick with them. Don't lose them. And then I explain how we have the throw. And I explain as we're going. We go, and I blow a whistle when it looks totally confusing. But they will learn so much faster if they just play, and there's chaos and screaming. Ah! And then you'll have the teens who go over to the side and just pretend they're in the game, but they're not. They're just on the sideline. And you've just got to manage all that. And if it's a windy day, it's crazy. But usually 1 point, finished. Okay, now, and what do? Big thing. Losers walk. So if you lost the point, you walk to the other end. And that's the biggest thing that's confusing to players and thing. So sometimes I don't even switch ends. Just go back to your same end and we play one way the whole way. And then if it's super windy and you get that, okay, after 5 points, then you switch ends, because it is very confusing for new players who are just trying to figure out who their teammates are and where they're going and what to do, to also be changing ends every point. So those are just some things you can do with running it. And then close up, bring them in. Thanks so much. You know, if it was a group that's going to do it again, I hope you sign up for the sport. If you want to know more, there's lots on YouTube. Google Ultimate Frisbee. And that's that. And you just thank you for coming. And I tried to do a little cheer at the end, like lots of sports, okay? Everybody, Claremont High, woo! Or Ultimate Frisbee. And just send them off. And you'll have hopefully a few kids come talk to you and the teacher. And if you can get a group picture, for your little group. That's fine. You may not put pictures of social media on of youth. That's illegal. But if you can take a group picture of the teacher, just group picture, no names identified, and if I donate 2 discs to every school who does a demonstration or thing, and then they have the 2 discs that can have 2 games going. They don't need discs for warm up. Nobody's going to do that. Or they can invest in that if they want, but at least they have 2 discs. They can get games going. Take that picture, and generally the school will have to post it linking to you, or if they give you permission to do it, that's fine, but generally it should go on it shouldn't go on your personal site. It should be maybe on the CTFDA website or the SAFTA website with a link to you, but don't put on your personal site. That's not, you're not there as a personal, you're doing for the sport. So, but yeah, so generally the school will do it, not you, just so you know. And yeah, and hopefully you have a great session. And if anybody has questions, I'm sorry that we recorded this because of load shedding, but if you have questions, please just direct them to CTFDA, helloctfda@gmail.com, and they'll get put through to me, and I'll be happy to respond. And my resource pack, it's available. I provide to SAFTA and CTFDA the 4 documents plus a little cheat sheet, which you can laminate. If you're actually coaching a team, that's just like all the rules in a quick little cheat sheet they can have on the side of the field. But those things are freely available. I've drafted them to be used. I would love for them to be used. And I think that's it. And you'll just see my 2 other things, sorry, I did want to mention in my adaptation for use, the two other, and I mentioned a bit in my thing, is the language you use, and be very careful about using short forms or alti-talk. There's going to be no reference there, and lots of kids do not have a sporting background in South Africa. If they've come from disadvantaged areas, they have not played team sport. O and D mean nothing to them. So just try to use very general terms, along with language barriers, English not being the first language. And then the thing that's very prominent now is gender. You will have non-binary students in the group you're working with. So although we talk about it being a co-ed sport and guys and girls, there's a whole other issues with gender and chosen gender things. So this is why when I do my scrimmages, just line up whoever's marking against you. Often they'll mark up against the same gender or their buddy, and like a fast guy wants to mark a fast guy and a girl wants to mark a girl. Let those things happen and don't worry too much about just the school, the ethos they have. It will work itself out on the field. And don't be overemphasize this. You're just introducing a sport and giving ideas. There's lots of adaptations for youth around the world. There's adaptations that I've outlined for South African youth. So, and the school will have its own adaptations. We have no official school league. And the other thing with schools, generally 5-on-5 on a smaller field. We're not playing on full-size fields by any means with the kids. So yeah, anyways, that's all in the documents. Have a read. If you want to know more, let me know. And thanks very much.